This is a little bit of tooth trying, festooning, verification of the mounting, right? And checking up occlusion as well. Okay? So the first thing is first. We're going, let's take Mr. Dentures Rodriguez Sr. on the side. Let's do this, and that. And let's evaluate your teeth setup. I want to check the occlusion. And the occlusion, what I'm trying to do is in the anterior section, I want to check the overbite. And remember that overbite can be only about a millimeter down as it overbites, this upper overlaps the lower teeth about a millimeter at the most. Also, can you focus there, Wally?
Got it.
We got about 1 to 1.8 millimeters of that overjet as well. And why is that? Because if I take that centric lock off and then I start doing my mandibular movements, if I do protrusive, it's not being guided by the anterior teeth. If I do lateral movements, it's not being guided by the canines. Everything is being guided by the lingualized occlusion. How do you know that? Well, now it's time for us to also check how this posterior setup is set. And if I have the patient bite in the articulator, well, only on the posterior because the anterior teeth are not touching anyways, right? So, and what I want to find is that, can you see it there?
Mm-hmm.
I only have these occlusion points on the lingual cusps of the upper teeth, which we call it lingualized occlusion. These lingual cusps are exactly landing on the central ridge of the lower teeth. I don't have contact points on the buccals. I don't have contact points on the lingual cusps, where the only place where I need and I have to have these contact points are these lingual cusps landing on the central groove of these lower teeth. That gives me this freedom of biting all at the same time and also guiding these mandibular movements, and these are all guided only by the lingual cusps. By the lingual cusp getting or touching into the central grooves of the lower teeth. So that's occlusion. Everything is mounted as we were making a lot of emphasis. All my teeth are touching in one plane, where the buccal and lingual cusps are touching at the same time as the cusps, at the same time as the anterior teeth, and all of them are in one single plane. When I have these, or when I achieve these, how do I achieve these? Well, 2/3 of the retromolar pad in the posterior. Mr. Edentulus, I couldn't take that impression very well, but it's 2/3 of the retromolar pad in the posterior, and the anterior would be the size or the where the centrals are situated. How do I find out where these centrals go? Well, you remember they're located just as 1 millimeter of that overbite where I set up the anteriors. So what's the game here? I start up with upper anteriors. I follow lower anteriors. Once I find this lower anterior point here, I take lower anterior point, 2/3 of the retromolar pad, and I set anteriors and posteriors. Once I have everything here flat and in that position, then I can go ahead and start setting upper posteriors. Upper posteriors will be set up according to the lingual cusp landing on the central groove of these lower posteriors. ¿Sí o no?
Of course, when he talks about 2/3 of the retromolar pad, what are the anatomical units of the retromolar pad. There's nothing bony, it's all soft.
They're not
Therefore, Edentulus Rodriguez Sr., deceased, has no retromolar pad.
Rest in peace. Okay, so once I have that, right, my teeth are pretty clean. You know, they're not festooned, but they're clean. We're gonna proceed with festooning. So by festooning, because now I don't care about the occlusion right now much. I'm gonna take that upper cast and we're gonna work on the festooning. And when we work on the festooning, something there's so many ways to kill the fly, right? I'm gonna just show you one way to do this festooning in a very simple way. So I'm gonna get a sheet of wax. I will cut one part of this, right? And remember, when you work with the wax nice and warm, hot, everything is just very simple. So what I'm gonna get it right there where I need it. Now I can use my flame and I will prepare this wax as well. I don't want to warm it too much because my teeth may move a little bit. So remember, right at this point, the teeth should not be moving. So what I'm doing is, look, I'm just going around trying to adapt this wax here, right? Try to get into that interproximal.
Yes.
And I just need a uniform layer of wax all around these teeth, right? That kind of covers everything, all that. Then I will adapt it again. I'll warm it up again. Kind of get it right there. And then, once I have this, I'm just gonna come with my carver and I will start just cutting the wax that I don't need. Leaving a nice and even coat of wax all around. Remember, what this wax, everything that is pink will turn into, it's like the Cinderella. Everything that is pink will turn into acrylic. So you want to have that acrylic nice and even, Steven. Be careful not moving the teeth. Look, right now, I shift this one already. Boom! So you have to be very, very mindful of that, okay? Don't move the teeth around as you're doing this. Especially if you're not using extra wax, which some of you guys are not having anymore. At the end, kind of like melt the wax away. Do a little bit here. You clean it, thanks, sir. You keep cleaning it. Then you melt it away, kind of like to kind of like mimic the tooth is erupting from that pink. And then after that, you go even a little bit like that. Get that wax nice and soft, and go with a toothbrush like this. Kind of like clean the teeth, you know. Go like this, and then you give it one more like that, and you can even mimic. What is this called in English?
Stippling.
Not salt.
No, not fruit. Stippling.
A stippling.
In Spanish, how would this called?
A stippling. Like this. The main thing, or the most important thing here, guys, is to have. Can you zoom in, Wally? Is to have a very smooth transition.
I'm pretty close.
Okay. A very smooth transition in the interproximals. These interproximals must be sealed. There should not be any space between one tooth and the other. If there is any space, the stone where we we use to process the dentures will get into those little holes, and it's hard to get it out. So it's very important. If you see these little holes here, those need to be nice and sealed. When we go to the anterior section, same thing. I'm gonna go around the neck of each tooth like this, right? And then get it out. You can use this, or you can use a 7A spatula. Kind of like get it, most of it out, right? And you keep going it. Make sure everything is good and clean. You melt the wax away. You have an even coat, right? At the very end, you can do the stippling again. Give it a little bit more stippling. But the main thing, guys, the main thing is these teeth have to be sealed. Okay, Dr. P, what are we doing with the posterior? How are we gonna seal that posterior? Look, I'm cleaning the teeth. Teeth should be completely out or free of wax. You can even use, just don't move the teeth, remember. Do it like this, right? So in the posterior section, basically the only thing I want is to get the festooning goes to the half of the tooth, you see? Just a little bit more at the end. What I want is to have this wax holding the teeth, okay? In the anterior section as well, if you don't have it, you can add up a little bit more of that wax. Get it right there, and you want to have it above the cingulum or at the cingulum section. Okay, you want to have this wax embracing or evolving. How would you say it? Like around, like all around the tooth,
Surrounding it.
surrounding it. Yes.
But you want to get a proper curve for phonetics there, which we haven't really talked about too much. But if you look at a cast of your maxillary, that area to the lingual or the palatal of those anterior teeth isn't flat. It's got a little hump to it that you use with your tongue to say sounds, like 6 and 7. This, that, and those. And you need to give them that back.
So the palate, you want to do it as thin as you can. Most of the time, it will be enough with the base plate you have. That will be more than enough for the thickness. Now, do you see how I covered all of it now? Now, I'm going to wait until this wax to kind of give me a little bit more body, and then I will take it off. On the posterior, look, I have approximately half of the tooth, okay? If I go to the occlusal, I'm just gonna melt all the wax around the occlusal, and with the aid of a gauze, with the aid of, I think a gauze with some alcohol can give me a very good tool to clean the teeth like that. Then at the very end, I will just go one more time and clean the teeth. Now, this is not a super fancy festooning. It's just good enough for a clinic. And give a little bit of this right there. And this is what I'm looking for, okay? As long as we have this clean surface, probably I could work a little bit more on these anteriors. What do you think it was?
Wish we had like a vulcanite scraper. Really, that number 7 wax spatula, you might be able to do the inner dental radicular area. There you go. Depression, so to speak. So you get the festooning look of a washboard, where it's corrugated looking.
not so mono.
Not
Plain.
so flat,
Yeah.
where somebody smiles and their gums flash right back at them, at you. That doesn't look natural. The roots are going to form. We can't see it on this Mr. Rodriguez, but I have one that has, the teeth still, and you can see the bulge you get in the bone.
Specifically in the canine area.
Right, and that canine prominence.
I can put even a little bit more on this side here to create like a canine prominence. And hey, you can get as crazy as you want with this. I'm gonna add a little bit more here on this side as well. I'll show you some of those, some festoonings that lab techs like to do, and they have some crazy festooning.
You'll see them in the dental magazines.
Yeah,
They'll show you one thing. But for many patients, they would find it very uncomfortable to have it that busy. And like I always say, you go to a wedding reception and they have shrimp and grits, and you eat the shrimp and grits.
Those grits
and
gets in there. Yeah.
You have yellow gingiva from grits.
From the grits.
And the cheese all stuck into those grooves.
So every time you do that, I'll go back again and clean them up, and it goes on and on and on and on and on until you feel comfortable with this festooning. Okay, make sure teeth are not moving. So always go back to your articulator. Make sure teeth are not getting all messed up. Okay, tooth trying. So I checked occlusion, I checked setup, I did some minor festooning on this thing, and now it's time to appoint the patient. Patient shows into the office.
This has all been done in the lab after your MMR appointment, and now you're seeing the patient for the first time with the teeth set.
Right. So we're gonna do the tooth trying, okay? And these have to some sort of coincide. The MMR record you had on the articulator that you took from the patient, and now you're going back. Okay, so let's see. Let's bring this to Mr. Edentulous. Let's put it back in here. Awesome. Now let's get the lower one. Open, sir. Thank you.
My big was doing it, so her and Dr. Quinn were in charge of it over with the lab.
And now I can see and I can evaluate if the articulator or the mounting meets what is in the patient's mouth. How are we going to do this? Well, you're going to take your Mr. Dentures Rodriguez and you're going to set it right there, and you want to have pretty much about the same setup. You will evaluate your overbite, you will evaluate your midline, you will evaluate occlusion, and if there is anything that you need to change or any variations, if it's just minor ones, you can always do that after it's been processed. If the patient at this point likes the fit, not so much the fit, likes the color, likes the setup, likes the speech and all that, you have the patient sign, because this is the only time that we can make any more adjustments. After this appointment, these dentures will be turned into acrylic. And when they turn into acrylic, no more changes.
Right now, it's speak now, forever hold your peace.
This guy hold his peace forever.
That's
huh?
right. He can hold it a long
So,
time.
do you like it, Mr. Dentulous?
Si.
All right, excellent.
Si, senor.
So, at this point, people, in this class, we're going to write up a script and we're going to send these dentures. Okay, so what you do is you will demount with your buffalo knife, you will demount the cast from the casting. You take it off, and then these two cast and dentures will go in a box and will be sent for processing. For now, salud.